Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today, oh my gosh, crazy. 1 second. Okay, much better. Welcome back to my channel, guys. If you are new, welcome. I'm Desi, of course, and today I'm excited. We're getting back into astrology. So I wanted to talk about the coins, girl, money, okay? We're going to talk about money and how it relates to astrology, you know? Prepare for this like roller coaster with me because it's complicated. It's complicated, okay? I got my coffee right here. I have a few charts. Actually, I lied. I have my chart pulled up. I will pull up another chart. A few charts because I wanted to make like clear connections to, you know, the topic today. So basically we're going to talk about money and how it relates to certain houses, like how we relate astrology to certain houses, or how we relate money to certain houses in astrology. Okay, so the houses, before I even get into that, disclaimer, okay? I know this is gonna sound weird because of what I just said, like that whole intro, but money has nothing to do with astrology. Yeah. So the reason that I am giving this disclaimer is because the rest of the video is going to be a little more on the shallow side, and I love to dive deep. I've told y'all about my 8th house placements and how we don't play about, you know, details and depth and things like that. But money is a little more on the pop astrology. It's a little more on the shallow side, just because money has nothing to do with astrology. It's how we feel about money and how much money kind of like rules our society is why, like how we're able to incorporate it into astrology. So lots of things don't really have to do with astrology. We just are able to place them in certain areas because of the energy of that object. Okay, so money, what do we use money for? Money is used for stability. It's used, it's valued by us, you know? And so with those key words, key elements, key feelings, money can bring you status, you know what I'm saying? Like, so we are able to place those in certain areas of astrology, but honestly, like money has nothing to do with astrology. So with that being said, moving on now. my little disclaimer is over, okay? So the houses that we're gonna talk about today is the 2nd house, the 6th house, the 8th house, the 10th house, and then we're also gonna talk about the North Node in this video as well. And it's gonna make a little more sense, like my little disclaimer, how it ties in, and I'm gonna explain that now. So first house we're talking about is the 2nd house. So for those of you who know about a birth chart, this is what we're talking about. I'm gonna make a video about that too, explaining how to read it, you know, how you can tell which house is where and things of that nature, because the more you learn about astrology, the more you start to get lost. Honestly, like you kind of get lost. Like you have to continue to learn. It's an ever learning process. Like I'm still in the middle of learning shit ton of stuff, like for real. So the 2nd house is the house that comes after the ascendant house. So when you're reading a chart, you're going to see the ascendant, and it's always going to be your 1st house. The 1st house is the ascendant. You're going to see a line, right, coming from that house. That is the start of your 2nd house. Like after the ascendant, the next line is the start of your 2nd house. Wherever that line falls, whatever sign it falls in, that's the sign of your 2nd house. So for me, and I have to get technical. I have to look at my chart sometimes because there are things that I make up in my head. I think my 2nd house is in Capricorn. It's not. My 2nd house starts in Sagittarius, but I have planets in my 2nd house in Capricorn, and it's like very late degree Sagittarius. So that kind of plays a role, right? And then I also have Capricorn intercepted in my 2nd house. Like that's a whole nother deal, but we're gonna try to keep it as basic as possible. So Second house is our house of values. And this is what I was talking about when I said like, money doesn't necessarily have anything to do with astrology. It's just how we feel about money, how money affects us, how we kind of need money to survive in this society. We value money. And so they place that and they associate that with the second house because that is our house of values, right? Just, of course, the second house is many things. We could get deep, as I said, but we're gonna try to keep it shallow. I'm trying my hardest. So the second house is, yes, as I said, the house of values. And this is where you actually gain self-value, right? So my second house is in Sagittarius. And so when reading, and another thing, right? So we're gonna talk about money and how it relates to the houses, but we're also gonna talk about how you could make money with these houses, right? So my second house being in Sagittarius, automatically, you know, the themes of Sagittarius are travel, whether that's inward or outward. It's going to be wisdom, knowledge, philosophy, things of that nature. Teaching could be, you know, Sagittarius energy. So that's going to be a value of mine, is going to be spirituality, which is, you know, something that's also linked to Sagittarius. That's like the biggest word for Sag, I feel like, is spirituality. Like even the meekest of Sagittarius that you, or, you know, boneheads of Sagittarius that you meet, they have a spiritual aspect to them. It's almost like they need it, you know, whether it is them getting up every day and making toast. Like that could be their, you know, form of spirituality, their form of religion. Like they need something to help them tap in, right? So with us having Sagittarius in the second house, my part of fortune is here as well. So the second house plays a huge role in my finances. So I like to take account all of the signs as well, but we're gonna stay at Sag for now. So second house in Sagittarius. So that's something that I value, spirituality. I link how much money I make to being a spiritual thing. Like seriously, every time I receive large sums of money, especially if I have made them myself, I just thank the universe so much because I feel like it has something to do with what I did spiritually. You know, my spiritual guides have placed me in the right position, the right direction to make this money. That's the type of person I am. I'm a very ninth house person anyway. So what you would do also, however, is see where the ruler of that house is. So the ruler of this house is Sagittarius. The ruler of this house is Jupiter, because it's Sagittarius. Ugh, my goodness. So yes, the ruler of this second house is Jupiter. I have Jupiter in my first house. So this is going to have something to do with my persona. This is going to have something to do with my personality. Personal people, places, and things in my life are going to be linked to my money, is going to be linked to how I'm making money type things, things that I value. So that's how you kind of like tie things in like that, you know? So right off the bat, you could see how I could potentially make money in this era with just this one house. Teaching on YouTube. Like how many people do we see, you know, teaching on YouTube? They probably have Sagittarius as like one of these houses that I mentioned, or like it's a prominent something of theirs, you know, or, you know, just the ninth house space is something that's important in their chart. So yes. And then within my second house, so planets within that house play a role as well. I have Neptune and Uranus because I was a part of that little conjunction era of Neptune and Uranus. And they are both retrograde. Retrogrades play a role because it's more of something that is going to be felt inward. It's going to be something that isn't so apparent, maybe, but of course the other parts of the chart matter because I have Pluto in my ascendant. So I know I'm trying to tie all this in for you guys. So with Neptune and Uranus in the second house, this can create this need for eccentricism, you know, making money through your dreams, you know. You're a person who doesn't want to make money like everybody else. You don't want to do the everyday 9 to 5 things to make your money. So you're going to be a person who pursues your dreams. You're going to be a person who tries to make money in dreamy ways, you know, stuff like YouTube. Like YouTube is very Neptunian, movies, things like that, like acting. I've had people tell me like so many times that I could be an actress or something like that because I'm so freaking dramatic. Like, it's ridiculous. But yeah, like having planets in those houses are going to affect things, you know, dealing with that house. And then with those rulers, right, I also like to look and see like what sign is it ruling over. Capricorn. So I had the Neptune and Uranus in Capricorn. Ruler of Capricorn is Saturn. So where is Saturn? Saturn is in my 4th house. So my family could have something to do with my stability because, you know, Capricorn is the sign of stability. Saturn being in the 4th, my family could definitely have something to do with my finances. And they do play a big role in my finances. And you'll see it like throughout my chart as I'm explaining the rest of the houses. Oddly enough, I also have Saturn in Pisces. So you see how that's kind of like that little switcheroo going on, like Neptune ruled by Pisces is in Saturn, like has Saturn ruling over it, you know, like in the sign of Saturn. And then Saturn is in, you know, like Saturn, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, Neptune is there. So it's like that little, it's linking it together type stuff. So my family, you know, is going to play a big role in me making money as well. Okay, moving on, because we talked about the 6th house or the 2nd house for forever. We're gonna move on to the 6th house. So the 6th house is our day-to-day. Oh, and I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this. The 2nd house is ruled by Taurus as well. Taurus is like the material sign, just to put it as basic as I can to not ramble on. Taurus is like the money, it's like the material sign. Taurus is the ruler of the 5 senses. So that's why, you know, 2nd house also can deal with values and treasures and things of that nature, just based off of the sign in that house and the house itself. So 6th house now. So 6th house is ruled by, or I'm sorry, not ruled by, but the 6th house, birth Virgo. So this is home to Virgo, right? This is our day-to-day routine. Things that we're working on goes into the 6th house. So you can automatically see like how this has to do with money. Like, of course, you can work on things and not make money, but in the society that we live in, a lot of things that we're working on, a lot of things that we're doing day to day is so that we can make money, so that we can make a living, you know? So my 6th house here is ruled by Taurus. So I'm a person who likes to work slow, honey, and that's true. But with Taurus here, see, it plays out kind of well because this is an earth house. It's just every earth sign does things different. And that's the thing that you have to check. Like what sign is there and how, because the sign is telling you how it's going to play out, right? Just like how I have Sagittarius in my 2nd house, but I also have Capricorn there. That's like, what is that? I think that's dust. No, that's not dust, that's lava. So lava within your 2nd house is like, it's like moving slow. It's almost like my chart tells me like things have to happen over time. It moves slow. Lava is hot. It hardens after time. So you have to give things time, you know, when dealing with lava. Like it just, things happen over time, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Taurus in the 6th house, Taurus moves slow. And that's exactly how I am. I like to work slow. I'm a Virgo Mars too. Like I need that time because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I be needing things to turn out right, you know? So Taurus being bringing the material almost like into the 6th house. So things that you work on, Taurus is a very artsy sign as well. So you could be working on things dealing with, you could make money doing art, which I do that, you know, artsy stuff is Taurus as well. Taurus is very artsy. Like let them have a water placement, especially like Pisces or something. They're very sensitive, very artsy, very spiritual can be. And so, so yes, with Taurus there. And then you also, like I said, you want to check where that chart ruler is. So Taurus is ruled by Venus. My Venus is sitting literally like right on the cusp. I'm actually gonna show my chart on the screen. It's sitting right on the cusp of the 7th and 8th house, but it's within my 7th house, like technically. So that's dealing with relationships. So making money through maybe like something that I'm really good at and that I started to offer is like synastry readings, telling other people about their relationships, or helping people work towards their relationships. Like I could have been a relationship counselor, y'all. I could have, I still can. It's not too late. Probably won't do that, but it's there. And then with it being on the cusp of the 8th house, is definitely going to share that energy a bit, you know. 8th house is shared finances, so we'll get there. We're gonna get there. And then the sign in that house, I like to attribute to that as well. The sign in my 7th house is Gemini, so communication, speaking in some sort of way. Also, you know, the 6th house rules Mercury, or Mercury rules the 6th house. So communication is something, it's more on the feminine side though. So it's more of like the thinking aspect of communication. It's it's like the long drawn out thoughts type shit, you know, the day-to-day thoughts, like that type of deal. Mercury is kind of like a fast planet, but anyways, moving on. So yes, 6th house, things that you're working on day to day. And I don't have any planets in my 6th house, but like I said, you would just check and see where that chart ruler is. So moving on now to the 8th house. And the reason I threw the 8th house in here is because the 8th house, as we know, is occult mysticism, things that are done behind closed doors. It's all that deep stuff. But it's also joint finances, like shared finances. This is coming after the 7th house. So after you formed your relationships and, you know, solid foundations within relationships and things like that, 8th house is shared finances. This is where divorces come, everything, like, because this is like the aftermath of a relationship almost. So 8th house, shared finances. My 8th house starts in Gemini, very late degrees Gemini. So Gemini being in the 8th house, definitely, again, communication, gonna have something to do with communication, is shared, you know, is going to be dealing with my shared finances with people. And that's funny to me because a lot of jobs, now that I think about it, like with the 6th house as well, a lot of jobs that I've worked have been like phone jobs, like communication, you know, talking to people. It's hilarious because my job now, like I collect on hospital bills. I'm calling and I'm talking to people about their finances. You know what I'm saying? Like and then I have my son in the 8th house. So that plays a huge role. It's like, I'm all up in people's business when it comes to finances. You know, I'm all up in other people's finances. And that's true. That's crazy. So yes, I'm communicating with people, you know, about their finances, about their debts. This is where debt comes in as well. So to have my son there, that's just hilarious. And then I also have Cancer here as well. So something dealing with care, again, home, family life, you know, things of that nature, when joint finances. So if you look at your chart and you have planets in the 8th house, this makes you a person who is kind of like, I don't want to say entitled. It really depends on what sign it is. I mean, what planet it is, but a lot of the planets kind of play out similarly. It's like, we almost feel entitled to other people's finances. It's bad. It's really bad. And no 8th house person, like, you know, people with planets in the 8th house, they don't want to admit that. But I'm going to go ahead and admit that. Like, we're okay with being taken care of. That's, like, especially sun in the 8th house, we're people who are okay with being taken care of. Like, and I really am. I'm not going to lie. I'll work for what I have to get, you know. But you want to take care of me? You want to take care of me? Nah, I'm just playing. So yes, but again, we would see where that ruler of that house is, right? So with it starting in Gemini, Gemini is ruled by Mercury, which is in the 7th house again. So relationships is something that is going to be big for me, which it really is. Sun in the 8th house is also seen as you could gain an inheritance from a male figure. And I've had males in my life, in my family. They've helped me so much, like tremendously. Like they play a huge role in my life and my finances. Like, so yeah, that's cool to see. Like astrology does be kind of matching up sometimes. And then Cancer, which is the other sign that's in that 8th house, is ruled by the moon. My moon is in the 9th house. So dealing again with spirituality, things of that nature would be shared finances. And you know, hearing stuff like this, like I always feel like back in the day, I was probably one of those, like if I had this same chart, I would probably be one of those people that would be in a cult. Like, like just because I'm so run by spirituality, I would probably get caught up in a cult pretty fast. But yeah, sad to admit, but yeah. Next house is the 10th house. The 10th house is also known as the MC. This is the midheaven. This house is what everybody likes to say, what we're trying to get to, what we're striving to get to. Try to get to the highest point of your chart. That's what the midheaven is. What the MC is